Hey there YouTube. Today we're going to be doing a install of B&G suspension springs. They're going to be lowering springs for this 2012 Chevy Cruze. We're going to drop it down, hopefully get a little bit more performance in our handling and get a little extra style here too. So let's go ahead and take a look at our current ride height, and then we'll take a look at the tools needed for this install. So looking at our current ride height in the front, we're looking at right around, I'd say probably about 2 3/4 difference between the wheel, or the top of the tire, and the fender. Let's go and take a look at the rear. And in the rear, we're right around 2.5. So we'll go ahead and take a look at and see the difference between the before and after of installing these once we get all the springs on here. Tools I use for this install is a jack, a couple jack stands, some penetrating oil, strut or spring compressors, a 3 or a 1/2 inch drive ratchet, 1/2 inch drive breaker bar, an extension. We have a 19 millimeter, a 18 millimeter, a 5/16, a 21 millimeter, a 3/8 drive ratchet with extension, 3.5 or 3/4 inch long socket, 18 millimeter long. We got a T40 and a T50. For the ratchet or wrenches, we have 18 millimeter, 3/4 and 15/16, and a hammer. Now let's go ahead and start on this install. Let's start with the rear of the car. We'll go ahead and jack it up and take that wheel off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera now. First thing we're going to want to take loose after we have the wheel off is this one bolt connecting the strut or the shock to the bottom control arm on this. So we're going to go ahead and take that loose. Alright, I got my breaker bar and a 21 millimeter on it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. Hopefully it's not too tough. Alright, go ahead and broke loose. We're going to go ahead and take that bolt out the rest of the way. Alright, once we did that, it went ahead and popped down a little bit. That shock is holding a little bit of tension. But there's our bolt. And now the shock is loose from the lower control arm. Now off camera, I went over to the other side, took that wheel off, and also removed that shock bolt that connects it to the lower control arm. And that dropped it down quite a bit. I think I can go ahead and get these out here. Let's go ahead and try to push these down and push it out. Sure enough, got the top hat. Don't forget about that. Remember which way it goes on. And I'm just kind of twisting to the left here, trying to get this one to pop off the bottom. And there we go. Got our bottom one off. There's your bottom hat, or bottom one, and your spring's out. So it looks like it doesn't matter which way it goes. They look like they're coiled exactly the same on the top and bottom. So we'll grab our other springs and let's fit it back on. Alright, we went ahead and got the other spring here. You can see, it's brand new, nice and clean, shiny. These are B&G springs. They lower the car probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, and about $183 brand new. So I'm going to go ahead and fit this guy on here. So I'm taking the bottom one, putting that back on, and then I'm going to take the top one, also put that one back on. We're going to try to sneak this in here. Hopefully it doesn't give me too big of an issue putting it back on here. There we go. New spring is on. Kind of like how it matches my car a little bit too. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side, and while it's down, and we'll put in that shock bolt after I do that. Alright, so I got the driver and the passenger side springs in there. Now we're just going to go ahead and take that bolt, and we're going to jack up the bottom of the rotor. Try not to cause any damage to the dust shield. And then, so jack that up, push it up into the bolt hole so that way we can connect that shock. So we'll go ahead and do that to the driver's side here. Alright, I got the lower control arm jacked up here. Just going to go ahead and make sure we got it all lined up here. Looks like we do. We're just going to thread this bolt all the way back in and tighten it up securely. I don't know the torque specifications off the top of my head, but I'm just going to go pretty tight with that breaker bar there. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up, both of them off camera here, and we'll meet back up after I put that wheel on, because that's the only bolt we took loose. The spring compressed pretty well on this side, so I'm going to guess that the other side is going to as well. But yeah, that's about it on the. Alright, we went ahead and took off the front wheels. I took them both off, but if we look on in here, this is a first for me, because this sway bar link connects down there to the sway bar and to the strut. It's plastic. I've never seen a plastic sway bar link. But anyways, we're going to want to take loose that bolt, or that nut from that bolt. These are always a pain though, because you're going to have to use a wrench on that side and you're going to use a torque bit on that side. We'll let you know the size ones in a minute, but those are nylon locking nuts. And honestly, I break them almost every time. I hope I don't break them here, because you don't want to spin that bushing around inside the sway bar link too much. Probably not at all, honestly, but we'll go ahead and try to take this top one off. We don't have to worry about the bottom, because we're not taking the whole thing off, but let's try to take that top one off, and we'll reconvene from there. Alright, so I went ahead and broke it loose, but you're going to need your 18mm. I actually don't have an 18mm right now. I'm using a 3/4 inch wrench. It's a little loose, but somehow it's still coming. But you got also a T40, that's a torque 40. So I'm putting the wrench on there first, put the torque 40 into the bolt, and just slowly but surely take it out. Hopefully it doesn't get any tighter for me, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera and get this taken out here. I got it pretty much all the way off. Just taking the nut the rest of the way. Put it off to the side. Pull that out and set this off to the side as well. Now next we're going to start on these two bolts here. We're going to take these nuts off, it looks like, and then we'll go on and drive these studs out of the strut that connects it to the upper control arm, it looks like. Now these two nuts are 19mm, so we're just going to go put our breaker bar on here and break them loose here. And then I'm just going to go take those off the rest of the way, and after I get them off, I'll show you. Now after you get that last nut off, both nuts, take your, I got a 5-pound sledgehammer here. We're just going to hit those out of here. Now when I hit this one out, it's going to drop a little bit probably, like so. We're just going to get a, maybe come on out here. It's stuck a little bit because the control arm dropped from the strut, but just kind of work its way out here. Anyways, I'll go ahead and drop that out here off camera. Alright, went ahead and took both studs out. Now you can see this drops down. You don't want to drop it down too far or anything like that, because the CV axle is attached to it still. But we also have this brake hose. Just pull up and out. I would have done that before the stud if I would have known better. But do that before taking the stud out so you don't have to rub on there. But now the bottom of the strut is removed, and we'll go ahead and pop the hood and focus on the top. Next, we are going to take the bolt or nut off the strut tower. Take this off right here. It's going to expose a nut that's attached to a bolt. We're going to just go ahead and, it looks like it has a torque on the top, and we're going to hold that tight while we take our wrench and turn to the left to take that nut off, and it should drop down. So we'll go ahead and get prepared to do that. Alright, so with a 15/16, I'm holding down a little bit of pressure on the strut on the bottom with my foot, and I'm just taking this nut off the top of this right here. Once the nut comes fully off, take the strut off or out. I also got this plate on top. What makes this nut a little bit tough is that it's a nylon locking nut, it looks like. So that's what gives it a little bit extra toughness to take it out. So once you get it far past enough, set that nut off to the side, take the plate off. You should be able to remove the strut from the bottom. We'll go ahead and compress this down and see what this takes here. Now we have the strut out, we gotta use our spring compressors. These are spring compressors for a strut. I rented them from Advance Auto. You can probably rent them from O'Reilly's, AutoZone, etc. But yep, it's just a free loaner tool program. And then we're gonna go ahead and take those. We're gonna compress this spring, and then after we compress the spring, we're gonna take this nut off here. After we take the nut off, we'll be able to go ahead and remove the spring, uncompress it, and put our new ones back on. So I'm going to start compressing that, and we'll hit there halfway. I went ahead and compressed the spring. You can see the top part's coming down a little bit. I would say if you've never used a spring compressor, or if you don't feel comfortable using one, because they are quite dangerous, pay someone to get this done. Don't try to do it yourself if you're not feeling comfortable about it. But I've done this a few times. I think we're there, and we're going to go ahead and take that top nut off. Now this nut on top was also 15/16. I went ahead and broke it loose, but you're going to need the same tool that you used on the top nut. I think it's a crow's foot wrench or ratchet or socket, but they're really tough to take apart if you don't have the right tools, which is what I'm running into right now. But 15/16, we're going to go ahead and take this off the rest of the way, and we'll show you after we get the spring off here. Alright, this thing's about to come off here. Get it on this one last time here. A couple turns left. See, popped loose. Had a little bit of compression still left. Just take everything off exactly as it is stock, and then you should be able to slide this spring on off of here, and boom, it's off, ready for the new one to be installed. Now I got the spring off, I uncompressed it safely, nice and slow, and I got my other one here ready to go on. Just doing a mock fitting real quick, make sure it all fits and everything good. But yeah, that looks like it's gonna work out great right here. So we're just gonna go ahead and compress this spring and get it prepped and ready to go to put the cap on and everything. Now I went ahead and compressed this spring. And what we're gonna want to do is slowly slide it back on top, get it lined up. Where it needs to go here, just like that. And then we'll put that cap on, push it down a little bit more with our hands, and get that nut to go on. Now we got the cap back on, it's ready to go into the car. Alright, taking your coil, gonna slide it on up in there, get it positioned, put your cap, put your nut, just get it started, and you let it hang there. Next what we're going to do is put these two long studs through the strut and do the upper control arm and get that started. Now I went ahead and connected the brake hose to the holder, and then I put in the two bolts and put their two nuts on there. Next I'm going to reconnect the control arm, and then we should be done on this side. Now I reconnected that control arm, or that sway bar link, and it looks like we're all set on this side, so I can put the wheel back on, and then just repeat that for this other side after I get the other side done, I'll do that off camera. No reason to do it again. We'll have the wheels on. We'll have it off the jacks and on the ground. Well, we finished the install. I got the car rolled out and took it for a test drive already. No noises, no nothing like that. So it dropped it pretty well. Overall happy with the drop. Wish the front could have been a little bit more, but hopefully that might happen over time or if I get a little bit bigger wheels. But the rear's definitely dropped, I can tell that. So let's go and grab the tape measure and see how far it did drop. So in the front, it looks like it may have only dropped about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch so far. Maybe it might do a little bit more over time as it settles. In the rear, I got a lot more drop. About an inch is where it's riding at right now. So that's about an inch and a half drop. So like I said, overall, very happy with the outcome. If this video helped you, or if you did watch it, please like or subscribe. And also check out my other Cruze videos on my channel. Thank you.